A warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Respected Head of the Department, Dr. Subrat Kumar Panigari Sir, respected Jatindra Kumar Pradhan Sir, Assistant Professor in Zoology, respected Mumtaz Khan Sir, Assistant Professor in Zoology, and all faculties of this department. I, Nikita Naik of PG Second Year, welcome you all to today's seminar session. So, we all are familiar with the word Porifera. These are the four-bearing animals, and these are the simplest multicellular animal groups present on this planet. They have no definite form, and they are sessile in nature. So, a variety of forms of these Porifera are present in the ocean, like the tube sponges, then encrusting sponges, then the rope sponges, and many others. And we know that all the animal bodies on this planet Earth, they are shaped by the skeleton, which is built inside their body by the biomineralization of the mesenchymal cells. Likewise, the sponges also bear some skeleton in their body. So, it is interesting that an animal without a proper excretory, respiratory or circulatory system is able to build or synthesize a well-developed skeletal system. So, how is it possible? How they develop this skeletal system? So, let us talk about that in our topic, Skeleton in Porifera, a unique architectural design. So these are the list of the contents which we will be discussing today. So before we start about the skeletal system, we need to know the body wall of the sponges. It is very important. So the body wall of the sponges, it is made up of two layers of loosely arranged cells. The first one is the outer pinacoderm, which is a monolayer of flat cells, and the inner one is the choanoderm, which is a flagellated polar cell. So, in between the pinacoderm and the choanoderm, there lies a connective tissue layer, which is called as the mesenchyme or the mesohyme. So, this mesohyme, it is a proteinaceous gel-like matrix which contains different amoeboid cells, fibrils, as well as the skeletal elements. And because of this gel-like consistency of this mesohyme, they maintain the tubular structure of the sponges. So this is the structure of the body wall of sponges. So this one is the outer layer, that is the pinacoderm, and in between that is the mesohyme, which is the connective tissue layer. And here you can see different types of cells are also present, like the archaeocyte, the sclerocyte, the oocyte, leukocyte, etc. And the inner one is the layer of the flagellated choanocytes. Okay. So now let us see what are these different types of cells that secrete the skeleton. So in the mesenchyme, as I said, there are various kinds of cells present, like the archaeocytes, oocytes, myocytes, etc. But not all of them secrete the skeleton. So there are four main important cells which secrete the skeleton, like the cholancytes, leukocytes, spongocytes, and sclerocytes. So what are cholancytes? These are the amoebocytes with branched pseudopodia. And leukocytes they are large, highly motile cells which are recognized by collagen tail. So they have a long collagen tail by which they are easily recognizable. Then the primary function of both these cholancytes and leukocytes is that they secrete the dispersed fibrillar collagen, which is helpful to maintain the mesohyme. Then the third one is the spongocytes. Spongocytes, they produce the fibrous supportive collagen, which is called as the spongin. And these spongocytes, they operate in groups. They are always present around these spongin fibers. And last one is the sclerocytes. These sclerocytes are the main cells which are responsible useful for the production of the siliceous and the calcareous spicules. And these are the active cells with abundant mitochondria, then cytoplasmic microfilaments and small vacuoles. So this is the picture. Here in the mesenchyme you can see all the different cells are present, like the collencyte, which is the important cell that secretes skeleton. These are the leukocytes with the long collagen fiber tail, and these are the spongocytes, which are present around the spongin fibers, and these are the sclerocytes. Now the classification of the sponges. Sponges, they are mainly classified into three classes on the basis of the presence and the composition of the spicules and sponges. So first one is the class Calcarea. Here the skeleton, it is mainly composed of the calcium carbonate, and that is why they are known as the calcareous sponges. And here the spicules, they have 1, 3 or 4 number of rays. Example is Leucosolenia and Scarpa. Then class Hexactinidia. Here the spicules, they are made up of silica, and they are 6 rays, means they have 6 number of rays in the spicules. That is why they are also known as hexactinal. And the hexactinida, they are commonly known as the glass sponges. For example, the Euplectilla, Hyalorhema. Then the class sponges are the only phylum that uses hydrated silica as their skeletal element. Then class Demospongia. Here the skeleton, it is formed of the siliceous spicule and the spongin fiber. They are commonly known as the demosponges, and here the spicules, they are not 6-rayed. Example is Euspongia and Spongilla. This is the picture of Cycon, then Euplectilla, which are the glass sponges, and the Spongilla, which are fresh water. Then let's talk about spicules. What are they? Spicules are the microscopic crystalline structures that provide the sponge their rigidity and definite form. So these are secreted by a specialized mesenchymal amoebocytes, which are known as the scleroblast. And the scleroblast that secretes a calcareous spicule is known as calcoblast, while the scleroblast that secretes a siliceous spicule is known as the silicoblast. They also consist of rays and spines that radiate from a point. Now, in calcareous sponges, the spicules, they are secreted extracellularly in the sclerocytes, and in demosponges, they are secreted intracellularly. But in case of hexactinida or the glass sponges, they are secreted intrasyncytially. Now, let us talk about the types of spicules. Spicules are of many types. So first, on the basis of the size and function, the spicules are of 2 types. One is the megascleros, another one is the microscleros. So as the name suggests, megascleros are the larger spicules that measure from about 60 to 2000 nanometer, and they function as the main skeletal element. Now the microscleros, these are the smaller microscopic ones which measure from about 10 to 60 micrometer, and they mainly occur in the mesenchyme. Then, on the basis of number of axes and rays, the spicules are again of several types. Like the first one is the monaxon. So here the spicules, they are formed by growth along one axis, and they may be straight, needle-like, rod-like, or curved. Their ends may be pointed or hooked, and they can be both calcareous or siliceous. Monaxon spicule is further divided into 2 types. One is monactinal and second one is the diactinal. Monactinal means the growth here takes place only in one direction, whereas in diactinal the growth takes place in both directions. So this is the picture of diagram of the monactinal monaxon. This is the diactinal monaxon, and this is the curved monaxon. Then triaxon. Triaxon are the spicules having 3 axes. these three axes, they cross each other in such a way that they are at the right angles and they form six rays. So as they form six rays, they are known as hexagonal spicules. And these triaxons, they are the main characteristics of the class Hexactinida or the glass sponges. So this is the diagram of the hexagonal triaxon. Now the tetraxon. Tetraxon are the spicules that have four rays, and each ray they point in a different direction. So usually what happens? One of the four rays is elongated, which gives the appearance of the crown of three rays. And such spicules are known as the triangles. I'll show the picture of triangles in my next slide. And when all the four rays of spicule are equal, means if all the rays are of equal size, then they are known as the calthropes. And when all the four rays they persist, they are known as tetraradiate or quadriradiate. Sometimes one of the rays is lost, and that spicule is known as the triradiate. And if the elongated ray appears this at both ends, those are known as the amphidisc monaxon. So these are the picture of calthropes where each ray is of equal size, and these are triradiate where one ray is lost. These are triangles which gives the where one ray is elongated and rest three rays they gives the appearance of a crown. Then polyaxon. As the name suggests, poly means many. So these are the spicules with several rays, several equal rays that radiates from a central point, and they group to give a star-like appearance. So these are the polyaxons. They appear like stars. So these are the diagrams or the pictures of various spicules which I have discussed. There are other spicules too, like the spheres, desmas, spires, esters. So what are spheres? These are the rounded bodies in which the growth is concentric around the center. So growth will occur that is concentric around the center. Then desma, which consists of an ordinary minute monaxon, triradiate or tetraxon spicules, and these are called as triptychs. Then there are spires, which in spires they are usually curved in one plane or they are spirally twisted. So most common type of spires include the C-shaped forms, which are known as the sigmas. They also include some bow-shaped ones, which are called as the toxas, and there are chelas, which are recurved hooks. So chelas they have two ends. So when the two ends of the chelas they are alike or same, they are known as the isochelas. And when the two ends are unlike, they are known as the anisochelas. So spirally twisted sigmas, they are called as the sigma spires. Then there are esters. These esters they may be they have small centers with long rays, or they may be large centers with small rays. So when the small centered esters they form the oxyesters with pointed rays, whereas the large centered esters they form the spare esters with definite rays. So here you can find the various type of spicules that are present. So on the basis of the type of deposit of core organic material, the spicules they are again of two types: calcareous spicules and siliceous spicules. Calcareous spicules, as you know, the organic material is calcium carbonate or the calcite, and these are the characteristics of the class Calcarea. Whereas siliceous spicules are those where the organic material is silica, and these are the characteristics of the class Hexactinida. Now let us discuss about the spicule development. So how the spicules are developed. So first let us discuss about the development of monaxon spicule. So in case of calcareous sponges, what happens? These spicules they are secreted within the binucleated scleroplast. So as you can see, this is a binucleated scleroplast having two nucleus. So the spicule is secreted in between. So here, in the space between the two nuclei, the calcium carbonate material from the sea, it will deposit and it will start the formation of the spicule. So as the spicule it will grow, it will draw the nuclei apart, and it will draw the nuclei apart until they form two separate scleroblasts. So two separate cells. So one cell will be the thickener cell and other one will be the founder cell. Thickener cell is present at the inner end of the spicule, whereas founder cell is present at the inner end, whereas the thickener cell is present at the outer end. So this founder cell, it promotes the growth of the tip, whereas the thickener cell, it adds additional calcium carbonate to the spicule. And when the spicule, it finally reaches its desired length, when it is fully grown, then it protrudes out of the sclerocyte. So this is how the monaxon spicule develops. So then the development of triradiate spicule. The triradiate spicule also develop in the same way as that of the monaxon spicule, but in this case, three scleroblasts they come together in a triangular manner, and then they divide into two, each into a inner founder and an outer thickener. And each pair then they secrete a minute spicule with three rays which unite to form a small triradiate spicule. And when this grows, finally it forms a tetrahedral spicule. This is how the triradiate spicule is formed. Three scleroblast cells, they come together in a triangular fashion and they secrete the triradiate spicule. Then the spongin fibers. So spongins, these are organic elastic substance which resembles the silk in their chemical composition, and they consist of a scleroprotein that is rich in sulfur and which is chemically related to the collagen. These spongin fibers, they are insoluble in water and acid, but they are soluble in KOH and are chemically resistant to the digestive enzymes. They also contains large amount of iodine, that is up to 14%, and they also have hydroxyproline and glycine in large amounts. So this is the spongin fibers. Now the development of spongin fibers. What is spongin? The spongin fibers, these are fine threads of soft granular axial bone which are externally surrounded by the concentric layers of spongin. Now spongin are secreted by the spongioblast cells. So during the development process, the spongioblast cells, they arrange themselves in a row and they secrete a vacuole within which the spongin is collected. Later on, the spongin, they form the spongin fibers, and each spongin fiber, they fuses with the neighboring cell to form long fibers. In this way, the spongin fibers are formed and they form a meshwork-like structure which provides the fitness to the sponge body. Then the life cycle of the spicule, from its formation to the deposition. So we know that the spicules, they are formed within the sclerocyte, and here you can see that this is the body of sponge, and it represents the body wall of the sponge. So as you know, there is a mesenchyme in between the two layers of the in between the outer and the inner layer of the sponge body. So it is in the mesenchyme that the sclerocytes are present. So the development of spicule, it takes place in the mesenchyme. So, and this is the magnified, this portion is the magnified view of the body wall, sponge body wall. So first what happens, within the sclerocyte, the axial filaments are formed, and around these axial filaments, the organic material deposition like calcium carbonate or silica occurs. Then it leads to the formation of spicules. Now spicules, they develop within the sclerocyte, and when they grow and they lengthen, if they finally reach their desired length or they become mature, at that time they pull the scleroblast cell to their tip. So this scleroblast scleroblast or sclerocyte, it becomes two, and it is present now. It is present at the tip of the spicule. Now, the mature spicule, it has to be transported. So it transports within the sponge body. Now, when the sponge is live, the spicules, they provide the structural framework. But what happens after the death of the sponge? So this B here, it represents the sponge, death of sponge and its decay. So after the death of sponge, the body and its associated the skeletal elements, which are connected to each other by the collagen fibers, they disintegrate. And here in the C represents the detached sponge body with the spicules, and this is the deposition of these spicules into the sediments. So when the body degenerates, it releases the dissociated spicules. Now these spicules, they incorporate into the marine sediments, where they form the major sedimentary rocks. They lead to the formation of sedimentary rocks. And these spicules, they often accumulate, and they accumulate into an enormous agglomeration, which is known as the spiculites, which is a special type of rock formed by the spicules. And in case of the spicules, they also fossilize. And in case of the freshwater sponges, the spongylocytes are found. Now let us discuss about the dynamic transport and the cementation of the skeletal elements. So we discussed earlier in the life cycle that when the spicules, they become mature, they are transported. So how that transport occurs within their body? So basically there is a sequential mechanical reaction which includes 4 steps. First one is the transport, second is pierce, then raise up, and then cementation. And this whole process is coordinated by 3 types of cells, specialized cells. Those are the manufacturer cell, the transporter cell, and the cementer cells. Manufacturer cells includes the sclerocytes, means the cells which produces the spicules. They are the manufacturer cells. They produce and they release the mature spicules. Then the transporter cells. Once the mature spicule is released, these transporter cells, they mediate the spicule movement through the outer epithelia. And where these transporter cells, they also help the spicule to pierce the outer epithelia. Why? It is because, as we know that the sponge body, they are very soft, the cells are loosely arranged. It is the spicule that provide them the support and the framework. So the spicules, they have to pierce the outer epithelia, so all the spicules that are synthesized by sclerocytes, they will join together and they will form the rigid, they will provide the rigid structure to the sponge, so that they will not disintegrate under the wave action of the water. And after the piercing, these spicules, they are pulled up in a specific position. Then comes the cementer cells. Cementer cells, this includes the basopinacocytes. What are basopinacocytes? These are T-shaped, flattened T-shaped cells which are present around the basal end of the spicule, of the raised spicule. This spicule is now raised up, so at the basal end of this raised spicule, the cementer cells, which are the basopinacocytes, and the spicule coating collagen expressing cells are present. So the main function of this basopinacocytes and spicule coating collagen expression cell is that they secrete the collagenous matrix, which supports or which fixes the spicules to the substratum. So first what happens, the spicules, they are produced by the sclerocytes. Then once they are mature, they are transported by the transport cells. This pink one are the transport cells which transport the spicules to their distant sites. Okay, so the transport cells, they help the spicule to pierce the outer epithelia and help them to hold up like this. They are held in a specific angle, you can say. So they are raised up. And to hold this position, there comes the, or to hold or to assemble all these spicules, there comes the basopinacocyte cells or the collagen coating expression cells, which will secrete the collagenous matrix and that will hold the spicule so that they will remain fixed to the substratum. And this process it keeps on repeating. That is the transport, pierce, raise up and cementation. So this process it keeps on repeating, and this is how the dynamic process of transport it takes place. Now, because of the mechanical properties of the spicules, like their stiffness, strength, and toughness, these spicules they have many applications. First one is so here is one example of the spicule application, that is the 3D printing of sponge spicules inspired flexible bioceramics. So you all have must heard the term that is bioceramics. What are they? Can anyone answer?
She is asking the question, what do you mean by bioceramics?
You must have heard this word, right? So,
First of all, make sure what is ceramic and why you are using the bio word before ceramic. Whoa.
This is actually a biomimetic approach where the inorganic part it is replicated using the spongy spicules.
No.
Bioceramics are basically the.
Anyone else? ତମେ ଫାଷ୍ଟ କିଏ ଜାଣିଛ କୁହ? କିଏ ହାତ ଦେଖିଲା ସେ?
Bioceramics are basically the biocompatible ceramic materials or metal oxides that are used for replacing and repair of the fractured bones and tissues. They have also the applications in dentistry. And example of bioceramics are alumina, calcium phosphate, so these all. So this is one application of spicules. So bioceramics, as we know, they are widely used in bone tissue repair and regeneration. Why? Because they have the capability, they are biocompatible and because of their bioactivity. But there is one disadvantage of the bioceramics, that is the brittleness, which pose difficulty during the time of surgical operations, and this limits their clinical applications. That is why the scientists or the researchers they have found that the spicules of the marine sponge, that is Euplectilla aspergillum, it has high flexibility and fracture toughness because of the concentric layer of silica that is glued by a thin organic layer. So inspired by the unique properties of Euplectilla aspergillum, the scientists they have manufactured a product that is known as the spicule flexible bioceramic based scaffolds, where they basically just mimic the spicules, how they are arranged. So they simply mimicked it and they constructed the microstructures by the 2D bioceramics and 3D printing. So what is the advantage of this spicule inspired flexible bioceramic or the SPF? They are adaptively compressed, they can be cut, folded, rolled or twisted without any occurrence of the fracture. So basically they replace the inherent fracture property of the traditional bioceramics. So now these are used. So this is one application of the sponge spicules. There are many more applications of these spicules, like they are used as blueprints in the biofabrication of the organic and inorganic materials. They are also used in skin penetration agents, something like that, and many more. Now, let us discuss about the significance of the skeleton. So, what is the significance of skeleton? First and foremost is that they provide the definite shape and support to the sponge body. Then, the sponging which is present, it provides flexibility to the sponges, and they also protect the body of sponge from degeneration by the wave action of water. And these sponges or the skeleton, the skeleton of sponges, it allows the animal to grow upward and facilitate the water exchange with minimal metabolic cost. And they also help the larva to stay buoyant while in plankton or reach the bottom at settlement. They enhances the reproductive success and also help the animal to catch prey. And also they are useful in the construction of the sponge phylogeny. And the skeleton, they helps to funnel the light deep inside the sea sponges. And there is one more advantage of this skeleton over the commercial fiber optic wires, because these sponges, they are more stronger, they can resist the stress easier, and they can form their own support element. And the low temperature formation of spicules, it allows for the addition of impurities, which improves the reproductive index. So in this way, they have advantages over the commercial fiber optic wires. So this is all about the significance of the skeleton. So these are all my references. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the HOD of our department, Dr. Subrat Kumar Panigrahi sir, for creating the opportunity for students like us to express ourselves in front of all. Secondly, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Jatindra Kumar Pradhan sir for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you all and to excel in my learning process. Then I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Mumtaz Khan sir for guiding me and for teaching us about the spicules. So thank you sir. And I would also like to thank the author of the books and all the references from where I have taken the information. And lastly, I would like to thank all my friends who have directly or indirectly helped me in the completion of my seminar. So thank you all.